This is the World Organic News for the week ending 28th of May 2018. John Moore reporting. Decarbonise the air and recarbonise the soil. I hope you enjoyed last week's interview episode with Mark Rathbone from saveoursoils.com.au. I have more episodes recorded and lined up from other people to be published once a month as a little something different. These are all people on the front line doing the work, so I think their contribution is valuable. Our own search for a small holding continues. There are a few properties in the 5 to 12 acre range with promise. Further research has led us away from the European short-tailed breeds of sheep and into the Downs breeds. I've kept Shropshires in the past, but I'm now looking at Rylands, virtually immune to foot rot, docile, smallish with good meat and wool production capacities. They are our current front runners. More info as we close in on our final decision. To this week's posts. From the blog Quartz. Investors with $10 trillion in assets want the oil industry to take responsibility for all of its emissions. Quote, over the next few weeks, many oil companies will hold their annual shareholder meetings. Should be a time of celebration. Crude oil is at a 4-year high, and almost every oil company has made a decent profit in the last year. But dark clouds loom. In recent years, activist shareholders have used the annual meetings to bring attention to the oil industry's seemingly abysmal response to climate change. End quote. This is instructive. I've been listening to podcasts this last month on the need for localised grassroots activism to effect change. You may realise by now I'm not really an either-or but a both-and type of person. But, and there's always a but, I think we've taken to the grassroots approach to climate change much more than the effect change through application of pressure to a single point approach. The likes of Greenpeace and the Worldwide Fund for Animals are, or at least were, grassroots organisations attempting to effect change through pressure. These two and most other similar organisations have been diverted into putting out spot fires and perhaps more significantly just raising funds. What the Quartz article points to is a sensitive point where change can be effected through a particular sort of pain, financial. Again from the post, quote, before this year's votes happen, a group of 60 investors with $10 trillion in combined assets, including Fidelity and Legal & General, have written an open letter to the oil industry. The Carbon Disclosure Project estimates that the oil and gas industry and its products account for 50% of global carbon emissions. For the Paris Climate Agreement to succeed, the oil and gas industry must be more transparent and take responsibility for all of its emissions, says the letter published in the Financial Times. There's a link, but it's also behind a paywall. Published in the Financial Times on May the 18th. Investors are embracing their responsibility for supporting the Paris Agreement. It is time for the entire oil and gas industry to do the same. End quote. I can see a similar way forward on the plastics question. There's a problem with the non-biodegradability of plastic in the environment, and by environment I mean planet Earth. There appears to be good alternatives for much of our plastic products. These can be made from hemp. Henry Ford built an experimental vehicle with all the panels made from a hemp-based plastic. More likely a substitute for Bakelite, but you can see how far back the technology goes. So for all the work in this world on banning single-use plastic shopping bags and reducing packaging, huge amounts of plastics are still filling our oceans. If we can take the shareholder approach from the Quartz post and pressure plastic manufacturers into using plant-based, probably hemp but not necessarily plastics, we could cut the supply of long life, thousands of years long life, plastics from the oceans. Clearly there will be side effects to this change. There are always side effects, especially unforeseen ones. But surely a plant-based plastic would allow for less permanent effects than the oil-based plastics. Equally, I'm not calling for anyone to walk away from grassroots organisations. I may call for the defunding of the pseudo-corporate pressure groups, especially if they are publicly funded. I'd also like to see the whole lobbyist industry banned as well, but let's take one step at a time. Given that climate change, or more particularly the effects of climate change, may raise questions of corporate governance. We had the evidence this was coming, why didn't you take steps as a board to protect my shareholder value instead of just ignoring the problem? Lines of argument. Then it is likely, irrespective of the actions or non-actions of right-wing English-speaking governments around the world that changes will be forced on multinational corporations by their investors. Now, at the other end of the system, we have a post from the Environmental Enthusiast entitled, Machakos Farmers Go Organic. This post documents the changes possible with a thoughtful approach to ecological agriculture. This particular article focuses upon a group of farmers to the west of Nairobi in Kenya. Normally a semi-arid region, ecological methods have restored life to the land. Quote, to many, Machakos country is hot, dry and dusty, but this time it is lush and green. In John Asika's farm in Kivandini, tidbits of water emanate from the ground, a clear sign that the long rains were sufficient and the crops appreciated them. End quote. The changes possible are both significant and, remember, possible. We must never forget this, and these changes can happen relatively quickly. 1 year after receiving training, the farmer John discusses the changes. Quote, John has a 4-acre piece of land where he grows maize, mangoes, pigeon peas and beans. On such a large farm, pests are inevitable, so how does he fight pests attacking his crops? And this is John speaking. The obstinate fall armyworm no longer gives me sleepless nights. I use mavangi, a shrub native to Machakos, garlic and chili, to make a biopesticide that I spray on the crops whenever there are signs of infestation. My household has never lacked food regardless of the season. If my maize dies, I will harvest beans or pigeon peas, popularly known as nuzu, says a content John. End quote. The effect of moving from oil-based systems to ecological are profound. John, the cited farmer, has food all year. He's not subject to the costs of herbicides, pesticides nor fertilisers. The effects rumble onto his family and community, all because of a change in methodology. Notice the reference to water in the first quote, and that this area was considered semi-arid, and yet there is enough water to get the job done. Today's takeaway? We need to change the action of multinationals. That is probably best done through their balance sheets and the threat of legal actions. And 2, getting as many people to grow ecologically now will have the world ready for when the oil pipeline is eventually turned off. We can do this, fellow humans. We just actually need to do it. And with that, I'll draw this episode to a conclusion. Remember, decarbonise the air and recarbonise the soil. As a podcast listener, you may be thinking of producing your own podcast, but you're not sure where to begin. Drop over to mrjohnmoore.com. There's a link in the show notes. Pick up the free checklists I've written to help people get started. I'm also doing a live presentation on YouTube, at the link also shown in the show notes, next Thursday on podcasting workflow. I'd love to see you there. A transcript of this episode is available at worldorganicnews.com. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week.